What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Bad Bitch Empire. And in celebration of the Bad Bitch Business Bible being out, I
Woo!
am here with my friend Alana Dickman, and she is a partner at Redbeard Ventures. She is the founder of the Girls Table. Why does this look like the event was canceled on LinkedIn?
Oh no!
Oh no.
Just one of those Mondays, I
Continue on
think.
LinkedIn. We're going to continue streaming this technical things that are happening. What is going on?
It shows it is live. Oh wait, no,
Okay.
we're live. I
Oh, we're
think.
live? Okay.
We're
Awesome.
live.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to the Bad Bitch Empire. And today, in celebration of the launch of the Bad Bitch Business Bible, I'm here with my friend Alana Dickman, partner at Redbeard Ventures. She's the founder of the Girls Table. And today we're going to talk about what it means to be a bad bitch, and especially how to really cultivate that bad bitch energy as a woman in business, as a female investor in a space that has been traditionally dominated by men, how to really assert your voice, your authenticity in this space and break in, because that's definitely something that both Alana and I have done. So I'm really excited to dive into this conversation.
Awesome. Well, Lisa, thanks so much for having me. I know you were recently on my podcast and talked all about your book, and it went out the day before you launched. So, how's it going? How's the launch of your book? Tell me everything.
It has been so crazy because I did 20 interviews last week, and then there were all these press articles that came out on Quartz and Fast Company and Stylist and Huffington Post. And I had my big launch party last week as well in New York City. I'll be doing another one in Miami soon. So we have to do one in LA at some point.
Yes.
But yeah, it's been so cool. It hit #1 in private equity in Amazon. So that was just like a really cool feeling because I didn't really expect that, but it was icing on the cake.
Yeah, and I know ever since we met, like now I think it was 2 years ago, like you were talking about doing this. So I just want to say I'm so impressed that like you went out there, you're doing it, your book's out. I'm so excited. I'm ordering mine. I promise you after this call, and it will be hanging up there with the rest of Elon Musk and Bitcoin and
Oh, I
whatever
love
else
it.
is there.
I love it. Well, thank you for your support as well. I do remember the first time we met. I think it was at South by Southwest in
Mhm.
Austin, and that was the first time I ever spoke about the Bad Bitch Empire. So it was still like, yeah, the first time I publicly announced myself as that. So I know that was like a big moment. And I think at that point, had you even started Girls Table?
I did. I think I already had it meant, but it wasn't what it came to now. And it was like still trying to decide what it was, what to name it, how to grow it. So I feel like we've both gone so far since that first meeting and
Yeah.
that dinner.
Yeah. Okay, so I actually want to lean into that conversation because I think that there are a lot of people who want to start their own brand and want to start their own community and movement, but don't really know how. So, as we've both done that, I actually want to hear your side of the story and how you really thought about the Girls Table and then where that was when it launched and then where it is now.
Yeah. So I would say one of my best qualities and something that you should know about me is I love connecting people. Like recently, actually, really yesterday, I connected with a girl on LinkedIn and she messaged me being like, I'm going to be in LA. She's from New Zealand. She actually is the founder of Girls That Invest. She's like, I'd love to meet with you when I'm in LA. I'm like, I'm actually going with all my best friends on a hike tomorrow. Do you want to come? And so she ended up coming, but that's just like me. I'm like, the more the merrier, bring everybody together, friends meet other friends, and everybody, all my friends and also my connections in the business world know me as like a connector. And so how the table came to be is that I had an event for NFT New York City, and I want to bring women in Web3 together. I wanted them to connect, and I wanted all my network to meet other people. And so basically, I planned it with two of my close friends in the space, and we had this dinner. And right away, I saw like how powerful it was to bring the right people in the right room. And right, really, like so many of those people are still connected. And I just saw that they all met through this one dinner. So what if I did that on a broader scale? And so since then, I've now hosted over 20 different events, brought together both men and women. Lately, they've been more focused on venture capitalists and founders, but that's just where kind of I grow. I'm a partner at Redbeard Ventures. And I also have a podcast really just to highlight women and men, entrepreneurs, investors, creators, and just tell people and put out in the world what they're doing. So I always believe like I wasn't sure what it was in the beginning, but I knew that I wanted to connect people and bring people together. And then slowly it's grown and grown.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's always, that's just how it starts. It's like you just have to do your first event or do your first podcast episode. And I remember like my previous company that was all focused on female entrepreneurs, it was like our very first meetup was a coffee. It was just like a coffee gathering and women sharing their stories around fundraising and how difficult it was as women. And then it became like a really powerful support network. And then same thing, well, slightly different, I think, with the Bad Bitch Empire, because I think this time I really started with this concept of breaking free of good girl brainwashing and this self-actualization of going from good girl to bad bitch. And then that message spread, and it was like the women who gravitated towards this idea of being a unapologetic bad bitch in the space, like owning your intelligence and your boundaries and your femininity and your strength and like all of that together. And then that growing organically into, similar as like events and podcasts, and now our venture fund that we're just starting to fundraise for, which is really exciting. And then courses and boot camps. We've done the Bad Bitch Investor Boot Camp. I did the Bad Bitch Boot Camp, which is helping women actually break free of good girl brainwashing. So it's like there's so many things that you can do if you choose to like really focus on one brand.
And I think that's so important. But I also think it's so hard. Like, I think both of us are go getters. We go out there, we put ourselves out in the world. But a lot of people are scared to like make that first step because I think it is putting yourself out there. Or sometimes like you see everybody else doing it and you're like, okay, well, they're doing it. So like maybe I'm not good enough or maybe I can't do it. And like, even now, I feel like the ladder is like always getting bigger. It's like, okay, like, recently you're Forbes 30 under 30, like I got in, it was a goal of mine forever. And now it's like, okay, you got that check mark, like what's next, and it's like you're always kind of trying to feed for the next big thing and always trying to do something else. But I mean, I see that in you. I feel like ever since we met, like always trying to get to the next step and do something new.
Yeah, and it's like the next, yeah, so how do you see like the next step of your career?
Yeah. So I got to be a partner of Redbeard Ventures last year. And really, I think it's just making sure that like I prove myself in this space. So like it's one thing to get a title. It's one thing to get like external validation through Forbes that like, hey, yeah, you're a good investor. But like being a good investor is so much more than just getting a title or getting external validation. And so for me, it's like, well, we have this $25 million fund. It's like, I need to find the best companies to invest in. I need to make sure that eventually in that 7 to 10 startup horizon that they're going public, that we're having liquidation events or getting acquired, whatever the case may be. But I feel like right now it's like it's proving myself in this space. And I want to continue to grow to be one of the best venture capital investors and really focus on frontier tech, Web3, crypto, AI, VR, and really just prove myself in this space.
Yeah, I love that. And so do you feel like you want to continue growing in with Redbeard, or do you feel like at some point you'll do something on your own?
Drew might be watching this. I'm joking. I see myself building with him. I mean, I think I learn something new every day, and I love having a partner that I truly love building with. I can't say in 10 years if I want to go out and raise my own fund and do that. But right now, I'm so happy with where I'm at, and I just want to continue to grow at Redbeard.
Yeah. So how do you see the importance of investing in female founders? Is that something that you guys have any focus on as you're sourcing companies?
So we don't have a mandate. We don't really have something. We just try to invest in the best companies that are building in the space. And to be honest, given that we're a Web3 crypto fund, I would say 98% of the time they're men. I recently just saw a woman. I had a pitch like last week, but it's like 1 or 2 out of 100. I wish I was kidding. And so it's more just trying to find women investors. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to find companies that excite me. But I think it's so important in general for women to invest their money. And you're probably seeing this with the fund that you're raising and trying to get women LPs on board. I know when we spoke previously, you really wanted to focus on getting more women investing. But so many women will spend money shopping, will spend money on other things, and then just sit on cash because they feel like it's safe. And that's a safe way to do it. But you'll never, especially in this market, a salary won't be the way to get to like financial freedom. And so I believe more women need to really put themselves out there, whether that's 10% of their salary, whether that's 5%, whatever their risk tolerance is, and invest that. Like whether that's in the stock market that they feel more comfortable in, or crypto, or if they're an accredited investor and can invest in startups. Like I just think more women need to get involved in investing in order to really grow their net income.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I think, especially now, because there are so many options and abilities to invest in different asset classes, there's a lot of technology that has diversified or democratized the ability to put in small amounts. There's much. It's just much easier to get started than before, when it used to be, you'd had to have $100,000 before you could even touch a startup investment.
Yeah, and I could touch on that a little bit. So like we have a fund, and the way that works is people give us their money, they're accredited investors. They're like, "Hey, we believe in you. We believe in your thesis. And then we want to see your like quarterly reports for what you invested in. We take a management fee, and then we also take carry." But the difference in what you're kind of saying is more of a syndicate model, where it's like, hey, we get all this deal flow. It could be in any sector, any stage. And it's like an email subscription. So we send it out to the LPs who subscribed on AngelList, and they see like, oh, hey, you have this new deal. If you're interested, you can invest. And that has a minimum of $1,000. And so women actually have the opportunity, and men, but obviously if we're focusing on women, to see deal flow and invest in what excites them with such a minimal amount, given they do have to be accredited, and hopefully one day those laws will change. But then they're actually able to invest with such a lower threshold, and they can invest in companies that just really excite them. And there's so many syndicates right now on AngelList that you could really subscribe to any that have a sector that excites you, or you like the GP who's running it. And you could really even just like get involved by subscribing and seeing the deal flow. And at the end of the day, you don't even need to invest, but at least you're learning about startups and seeing deals that are out there.
Yeah, exactly. So what is a deal recently that excited you, and why?
Okay, I'm going to say one completely like non-Web3 crypto, because as I mentioned, like we have the fund that's Web3 crypto, but we have a syndicate, and our fastest moving deal was we invested in Major League Pickleball. And if you see my Twitter at all, I've been really big on pickleball lately. And we're investors in the league. And we also own a part of the Texas Ranchers, which is a team out in Texas. And so I actually just flew back. We were supposed to have this podcast last week, but I flew out to go watch the team in Atlanta. And it's just really exciting because you see sports and how much it brings people together. And this is just such an exciting upcoming sport. And so I know that that's probably really outside of anything that you were thinking, but we do focus a lot on sports too. And seeing the rise of pickleball and being able to invest in the league and feel like an owner was so exciting. So I'm going to go with that one.
Did you see the meme on Instagram that was like, pickleballs for people who are too poor to play golf and too like non-athletic to play tennis?
Oh, I hate those people, because I'm like, really? Everybody wrote, I had a tweet recently about pickleball and it blew up, and people are like, oh, like pickleball isn't a real sport. And I was like, guys, I've been playing so much, and it is definitely a real sport. Like I am tired. I'm out of breath. Like I think it's like the best sport. Do you play at all?
I have not played yet. I maybe I have to fly out to LA and join your pickleball league.
We're having one October 24th, so please come. I've been doing a lot of investor founder pickleball because it is like such an easy onboard. So half the courts are used for beginners. So you could go there and you'll make your way to the real courts, I guess. And then I just think it's a good way to meet people and get out there and also work out. So
yeah. I mean, I need an excuse to go to LA, the West Coast, because I haven't had enough of an excuse yet. So
if
we'll
singing is enough of an excuse, then.
Okay, so I have a question because venture funds invest in high growth startups. How does your syndicate invest in a pickleball league?
Yep. So our fund is pre-seed seed Web3 crypto, but the syndicate could do any stage, any sector. We're known a lot for sports, betting, gambling. So we did pickleball, and we actually most recently did, which we're closing out right now, but a National Thoroughbred League, which is team horse racing. So right now it's usually individuals who horse race, but instead we're actually investing in a league. So we'll own the New Jersey team that racing, but you could do anything like if you could get allocation. So a lot of these are hard to get allocation. You're reaching out to founders, reaching out to owners, being like, hey, we have a syndicate. We're super interested in what you're building. But like something like a team, for instance, like eventually, like look at the Giants, even though they're terrible this year, but look at the Jets or the Chiefs, because everybody's talking about them because of Taylor Swift. Like somebody owns that and they've sold it before. And so that's a startup. Like you could invest in that, you could own it. And so sports is one thing, but we look a lot at really just any sector. We're investing in a psychedelics company for mental health called like Tron Biosciences. We're investing in AI. Obviously, that's the most exciting thing for like 3D characters that's working with like Disney and Sony. So all these like being able to invest in companies, like I see as such an important like asset class, because this is what's building the next generation of technology.
And so I have not heard about owning teams. And now that you put that out there, I think a lot of women are like, what? I can own a team? Because I like immediately think of the like women's sports teams, and like again, how undervalued often there are. And I always think there's an arbitrage opportunity. So is it an LLC? Is it a C Corp?
Yep. So there are LLCs, almost all teams. But eventually, if they're going to raise additional venture capital funding, that they'll say that they'll switch to C Corps. But most leagues and teams are actually LLCs.
So what are the terms that they're raising on? Is it just like pure equity?
Yep. Pure equity. There's no like crypto token deal, no safe. It's just equity.
Interesting. And then what's the potential exit, like ROI for those types of teams?
I'm gonna have to say, like, we will see. Like, you're seeing, like, pickleball's a hard one to really go out and estimate because it's growing. It went from, I think, 8 million players to 30 million in a year. And so you're just seeing this expand so much. So there's no team comparable. It's not like football that you see these teams go out for like billions of dollars if you want to go out and buy the Jets. But so this is really just like a new sports team. And also like same with horse racing. There's no team horse racing right now, but it's like we believe in the future of people going out and actually being part of a team and wanting to watch horse racing, not just at Kentucky Derby. And so, I mean, we hope that they grow. And obviously like looking at that, like, I feel like the normal startup, what you're looking at 10 to 100x, but it all depends on when you get in, what stage you invest in, and what type of sector you're looking at.
Yeah. So were you guys like angel investors in this pickleball league?
So we raised a syndicate. So we're on there as like Redbeard Ventures syndicate, but we raised a syndicate and then we all come in through one check under Redbeard.
Got it. And then can you say how much you guys invested and what's the valuation?
If anybody's interested, feel free to DM me, but I don't want to publicly say that. But yeah, if anybody's interested, DM me and I'll happily say it. I'll tell you after.
I am in the Redbeard syndicate, but you guys do like a ton of deals. And I invested in one that was with Redbeard and Flamingo.
On-chain studios?
On-chain. Yeah.
Yeah. They're doing awesome things with like
Good.
digital toy collectibles. So super
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Because they just raised a Series A, right?
Yep, they did.
Yeah. I think I invested in the seed or the seed plus. So I did see an email come through. It was like, okay, the valuation's up. Great.
Yeah, you're like, love that paper money. Let's
Yeah.
go. Markup.
Yeah. Um, okay. So what do you think? You mentioned a lot of different frontier tech, and I think that this is a really interesting time because we met during the bull market when Web3 crypto NFTs were all the rage, and
Mhm.
obviously the market has changed since. And then now the next big thing is AI, and then I think it's just like people feel like there's been a lot of hype in the past and maybe a little more cautious. What do you think about the development of frontier tech? What are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, so we're still really bullish on Web3 crypto. That's our fund, that's our thesis. I think a lot of times in the past, Web3 companies were targeting other Web3 companies. So it was B2B, but let's just say it was a rewarding company. It helps you with your loyalty. Instead of going out to try necessarily help Starbucks or help I don't know, like a food chain, they were going out and they were trying to help other Web3 companies. And now all those other Web3 companies or NFT projects don't have the funds to pay for it. And so what we're looking at is really Web3 companies that are targeting Web2 companies. So if they are doing a loyalty and reward, then they are going out and helping Web2 companies go on chain. But you don't necessarily have to say, hey, you're going on chain, all this is going to be on the blockchain. But we do believe in the future of Web3 crypto. We believe that your healthcare data will be on chain. We're looking at a mortgage back reconciliation automation tool that will let you like utilize the blockchain to help actually reconcile mortgage data. And they're working with KPMG and they're working with another like top 5 investment firm. So we're still really bullish. One of the things that we've been talking a lot about right now is gaming in terms of Web3. So let's just say you're playing like Nintendo and you get one of the best characters in Mario Party, even though there's only like 15 characters. Like, then you could go out and you could actually sell that character. So, first off, not having anybody who's anybody be able to get characters, but only having a specific amount, and then being able to bring that in different games and also owning those characters and being able to sell those characters. And so, we're looking a lot at the interoperability of assets on chain, which is really exciting to us as
Mm.
well.
Yeah, we actually the first two companies we invested out of the Bad Bitch Empire Fund in are both Web3 companies. So,
Oh, could you tell us which ones?
yeah, so actually one of them is both in Bad Bitch Empire and the Girls Table. So we invested in Breshna, which is Miriam's company. And we
Awesome.
also invested in Proof of Learn with Sheila Marcello. So she's the founder and CEO. She used to be the CEO of care.com, which exited for 500 million. And then she has created an incredible blockchain enabled platform to democratize technical education to developing countries, starting in the Philippines and going to India and then the US. And so it's just been really cool to be a part of those initial deals. And even out of the bull market, be like, okay, these are companies that are really leveraging the technology in the right way to really create the type of impact that we want to see.
That's awesome. So do you focus just on women entrepreneurs or are you doing women and men?
So we are doing female-led tech-enabled companies. So that are creating exponential impact, say, for women in the world. And so what that means is at least one female co-founder. Because if you are creating a company that is creating that impact, we do believe that if you're creating a company for women, women are typically best suited to lead those companies and solve those problems. But yeah, so it's at the end of the day, it's like we want diversity on the team. I genuinely believe that women bring a lot to the table. So if we can have those balanced teams, then that's going to be even more successful.
That's awesome. And I have a question because I know like you're obviously working with a lot of women LPs and women investors. What's the major pushback you get from women not wanting to invest in startups or in a fund or any type of deal flow that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is women not being used to putting in a certain amount of money because I think that I think it's more of a learning curve where it's like, okay, I know I want, so generally the thought process is they come in, they know they want to invest in female-led businesses. They don't have an access point to do that. They also don't have the deal flow, the network, the know-how, and how to do that. And so the big thing for me is when I thought about essentially the lack of education. So when women don't feel educated, then they don't feel confident, then they doubt themselves, right? Then they doubt the investment, and it becomes this whole chain of, I guess, psychological self-sabotage where you're like, oh, I can't do it. And so to help combat that, I also created the Bad Bitch Investor Bootcamp. And so women who do join the fund also get access to that investor bootcamp, which is like, we're going to walk you through all of the jargon so you can understand, think through your own budget, think through how to come up with your own thesis also as an angel investor. And of course, the women who come in are generally attracted to female-led, impact-driven businesses, and also how you can add value to founders. So my goal with this fund is that our LPs are not just LPs, that they are also part of proactively supporting the founders that we invest in, and can actually, contribute and mentor and advise and be a part of the ecosystem no matter the size of the check. So I think the main thing that has been for me is just figuring out how do we be inclusive with the check size. And we haven't launched our syndicates yet, but I'm actually curious how your thoughts are on the effectiveness of syndicates while also doing the fund, because I do believe you started with syndicates, right?
Yep. So we started with syndicates about 3.5 years ago. Since then, we've invested in over 200 different companies, have 3,700 LPs in the syndicate. So we're one of the most active ones on AngelList. It's good because our fund's specific to Web3 crypto. So anything outside of Web3 crypto pre-seed seed, we have a syndicate, or anything that maybe we invested in an earlier company in the pre-seed seed, and now they're raising, for instance, one really recently, CoinMara, crypto in the African region to help you buy and sell crypto, is now doing a pre-series A. And that's a little too late stage for us to have evaluation. So at least then we could give LPs the optionality to double down using the syndicate. But I think it's a great tool. I think right now it's a hard market. I think just people don't want to be tied up for 7 to 10, whatever the time frame is, years in these riskier asset classes. And so things are moving slower. I think we're seeing that a lot on AngelList. It became very saturated. You probably get a ton of our emails. A lot of other syndicates, if you follow 5 to 10, you're getting probably 10 to 20 emails a day from different syndicates about different deal flow. And so it's a little bit harder right now, but that to be said, it's also the market and where it's at. So I still invest in angel invest and find companies I like. So in the longer term, I think it's a great way to look at deal flow, get deal flow, invest in startups that excite you. But there are a lot of syndicates out there right now. So I just say find your niche, and then it's helpful to grow it. And also you've seen a lot of syndicates partner up. So a lot of people, like you said, you invest in on-chain monkeys through us and through Flamingo. So it's called co-syndications. And that's a great way to grow your syndicate too, and have people come into your syndicate if somebody else sends out your deal flow.
And how many deals do you see, and what percentage of those actually get to the syndicate?
I see way too much deal flow. My emails and DMs are crazy. I probably look through 10 a day, if not more. That's probably a low ball estimate. Have to get through all my emails today. So I try to get through every day. But then the syndicate, maybe 1 in 100, 1 in 200. It all depends kind of, especially right now. In the past, when we were doing Web3 crypto deals and it was a hype market, I was seeing the craziest deal flow, craziest companies trying to raise and thinking that they could raise. And so right now it's a lot less companies, but the deal flow and the actual value of the companies is a lot higher. But the syndicate, because it could do any stage, any sector, we definitely see a lot of deal flow. But it's really the syndicate mindset is a little bit different than the fund, because the fund, we have this obligation to our LPs to invest in the best companies, to see the exit, to see it go off to if you look at fund multiples, it's really hard to pay back funds. It's not an easy job. It's very difficult actually. But with the syndicate, it's a deal by deal basis. And so if one company has an exit, like right away, that company goes back to the LPs. Whereas in a fund, you have to pay back the whole entire fund before LPs get any liquidation. And so it's a different mindset, I'd say a little bit, but I would say that I think the value is really high for LPs who want to double down on investments that we're doing out of the syndicate, or even just to give different deal flow and get us into different sectors as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you're seeing 10 deals a day, like what is your process for like deciding whether or not someone moves on?
So it all depends. Like for us, I look through a lot in the deck, look at what they're doing. We have a venture partner network where people are bringing deal flow constantly. And then I personally love doing outreach and sourcing. So I love doing that as well. And then, I mean, if it's a company that I'm reaching out to and I source, like right away, we're having a first meeting, we're hopping on a call, we're walking through what they're doing, where they're at with fundraising. Usually we tend to have at least 3 calls just internally before then we ask to speak to different investors who are on the cap table either previously or in that current round. And depending on where they're at and what stage you're at, then we like speaking with customers too. Then we usually write up a deal or tech memo. It kind of depends on the company. And then we'll talk internally and officially make a decision based on the market, the competitive landscape, their traction, and their roadmap. And then from there, we'll either help them raise additional funds and talk to our network as well, or if it's even before that decision, then we'll like introduce them to other individuals and talk to them as well.
Mm. What was a company that you saw where you felt like there was a red flag, and what was it?
I do not feel comfortable saying any company that what's a red flag, unfortunately. But I think right now, a lot of it, like I just say, like it's easy to state numbers, but like I would just confirm all those numbers, confirm where they're at, confirm how they're getting traction, how they're getting, because it's really easy to say, like, hey, the total addressable market is 100 billion and they're going to acquire 10% of that. And it's like, okay, but how are you going to acquire that? How are you going to market? How are you getting customers? What are your partnerships to actually get there? And I would just say, like, if people have partnerships on their slide, maybe confirm what that means to them, what they're doing with them. Do they have LOIs in place? Can you see the LOIs? If they have investors in final rounds, there's this side of the market, there's no like rush. Like if you looked at it 2 years ago, we had like 24 hours to decide if we want to make a decision, or else the round was going to be closed and we wouldn't be in. Where right now you have a lot more time to really dive in, confirm things, and really just get comfortable with your investments, which from a venture perspective, honestly, is really exciting because then you really get to do the due diligence that you need to do as an investor.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So like when you think about the kind of this next quarter, because we are now in October,
Crazy.
final quarter of 2023. What are you most excited about?
So we're doing an accelerator right now. So we just officially decided on our 5 companies. We're in the second week of the accelerator. And I just think like getting our hands dirty, working with these companies from the ground up, they're all like pre-seed companies, very early stage. And for me, that's super exciting. Like I'm an operator at heart. Like I love getting my hands dirty. I love like really getting involved and making an impact. So for me, like being able to work with those companies and help them is super exciting to me.
Amazing. Have you announced those companies?
We have, yeah.
Oh, nice.
One of the crypto ones, like Truth Labs, if you know them, like Goblin Town, Alex Taub, who also started Upstream, but that's one of them. One is Travel Swap. It helps you basically, they're working with Expedia to buy secondary hotels. Because right now you buy hotels, but there's no market in case you can't go. And you could easily switch the name on a hotel. It's not like airlines or air tickets, but that's another one. I am for some reason blanking on them right. Oh, one is an ads protocol called Open Ads, and so they help you actually decentralize the ads network. But all of them are decentralized and have a token component. So we're partnering with Horizon Lab Ventures, who did the token for ApeCoin. They did Sandbox, and we're working with these companies on really building utility behind their tokens.
Love it. So, I mean, I think that, there's probably women who are listening who are like, okay, how do I how do I break into this space? What is your suggestion?
Yeah. So my first tweet ever was, I learned by doing. So here I go. And that was my first tweet. I had no idea what I was doing. It was when I was first jumping into crypto, Web3. So I would say, like, find what excites you, whether that's the stock market, which is kind of an easy onboarding, whether it is startups and you want to get involved, whether it's your job and you want to try a new sector, and whatever the case may be, like, find out what you want to do and then take the first step. And so for investing, and if you are invested or are interested in startups, I'd say like AngelList is a great place to start. And if you're an accredited investor, like, make an account, follow different syndicates, and not saying that you have to invest and go put your money where your mouth is, but like at least see the deal flow and get more, like, look at the valuation, look at the traction, look at the stage and different sectors that excite you, so that then when you are ready and you want to start investing your money and pulling the trigger, put out like a certain amount of money that you feel comfortable investing and then actually invest that. So I think like the easiest thing is really just to like take that first step. And that doesn't mean take all your life savings and invest it, but whether that is investing or whether that is the new job or new opportunity, like, I always believe that you learn by doing. And so making that first change.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. Yeah, because I think it's been, I mean, I think for both of us, like, we've been in the space, but then also it's still relatively like it's still relatively new. Like, women are still managing less than 1% of all assets under management in venture capital, private equity, hedge funds. And so it's still so early. um, like in this entire movement. And that's like really when I think about why I created Bad Bitch Empire, it's like this is a space that can feel very intimidating because it attracts a certain type of, I mean, traditionally it's attracted, men who wanted to build wealth, men who wanted to have power and influence. And that's why they are still 99% of investment managers. And so like if you do feel intimidated, it's natural, because women are still not like really represented in this space. So I think like even just doing the work that we're doing and like advocating for women learning to invest and building wealth through investing is still such a long road ahead. But hopefully those things pay off in the next decade.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think it also starts from like the ground up. It's like, hey, like, it's also about like starting companies or trying something new, not just going up the corporate ladder. And I've heard so many, at least women, and I'm not saying it's all women, there's obviously amazing women entrepreneurs, but who have talked about it and being like, I really want to do this. I've always had this idea. It's like, well, maybe start on the side and start building something, and maybe it will turn to nothing, but maybe it will turn to something. And then once women start building something, then they start maybe raising venture capital money. And then you see more women raising venture capital money and more women are interested in investing. Like, I feel like it kind of starts from the ground up. But I would say, like, yeah, like, there's no obligation to go put all your life savings in investing. But I do think like the reason why I actually called it the girls' table was because I felt like I was always surrounding myself with men. Like, they were always talking about investing, how much they're making. They're also like so proud of themselves. So like, dude, I was playing pickleball and a guy like hit it over and he's like, wow, I did a great job. And I'm sitting there being like, I'm the worst player ever because like I lost a point. And so it's like, it's just like this interesting concept where I feel like I was surrounding myself with men. And then I wanted to redefine what it meant to sit at the girls' table. Like, I want more women having these conversations, talking about investing, talking about how much they're making, what they're putting their money at, what they're seeing. And I just think like it's really important to be having these conversations.
Yeah. I mean, I think at some point we got to co-syndicate a girls' table Bad Bitch Empire deal.
Oh, 1,000,000% we need
Yeah.
to. So
Yeah. I also totally agree with that. I have a whole chapter on a bad bitch owns her wins and the importance of actually celebrating yourself, recognizing yourself for achievements and milestones, because we are so often criticizing ourselves rather than actually owning our wins and like experiencing that victory the way men often do.
Oh, it's so true. It's like really once you open up your eyes to it, you're like, men are patting themselves on the back all the time. They're like, I did a great job today. Like, I am like, they'll look in the mirror and be like, I look good. Like, I put on a t shirt, and women put on like a face of makeup, like everything, like worked on their outfit for like the past hour. And they're like, like, what's this? Zit? Or my hair looks bad and it's frizzy. And it's like this crazy thing where it's like, just like looking in the mirror and like, patting yourself on the back and being like, "Oh, I'm beautiful," or "I look great." It like
Yeah.
changes your mindset for every other part of your life.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like that today. I was so exhausted from last week. And then I feel like I came on here right before and I was like, I have my fleece on, my, my tank top. And I was like, you know what? I got to just put on a hat. It's
Yeah.
like a very guy thing to do.
Meanwhile, I looked at you and I'm like, "Oh my god, you look great." So, yeah, it's just crazy. We're our biggest critic, but I think we
Yeah.
could also be our greatest motivators.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So any last advice that you want to share?
Kind of what I said in the beginning, where sometimes like you could convince yourself like 1,000 reasons not to do something. Like you could actually find out, make up all the excuses in the world, but like somebody said to me recently, like, you're really lucky. Like, I'm in LA. They're like, you're so lucky. I'm like, I'm not lucky. I just do whatever it is that I want to do. And I go out there and do it and I figure it out along the way. So I would say, like, whatever that is to you, whether that's moving across the world, changing jobs, investing, like, go out there and just start. And yeah, sure, you might lose money. You might not love it when you move somewhere. You might not love your job. But hey, you might be so much happier than where you're at right now, but you might never know unless you try.
Yeah. I love that. And I'm so aligned with that. Last question for you is, what does being a bad bitch mean to you, Alana?
Yeah, I say it's like do whatever you want to do. Like the world is your oyster. Like stop trying to please other people in your life. Stop trying. You kind of mentioned it when you came on my podcast, like being that good girl, like being the person that you think you're supposed to be. And it's funny because that's a lot of times, this is like a weird side note, but in the Jewish religion, like I went to a Jewish private school, it's like being that person that you always think you're supposed to be, like being that good Jewish girl. It's like, no, do whatever it is that you want to do. And like, you'll find a way to make it work and you'll just be happier in life. And you only have one life to live. So I think you have to go be a bad bitch.
Yeah. Love it. Well, thanks for being a part of the Bad Bitch Empire. I am also grateful to have you as a friend, a colleague, a hopefully future co-syndicate partner.
Yes. And thanks so much, Lisa, for having me on. I feel like you're just the epitome of somebody that I look up to. And I'm so excited to continuously build and grow. And I'm stoked to read your book and everything that you're doing.
Thank you. All right.
Awesome.